I finished another sketchbook, and this time it didn't take me 3 years. Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artist at Play. Welcome back to my channel. I recently finished the sketchbook that I started last summer. You saw me paint this cover, and then I jumped right into it, and I'm super excited. This is a handbook sketchbook. I think it's a watercolor sketchbook. I'll link it in the description below. Did a lot of fun mixed media stuff in here. It was much smaller, so this time it didn't take me 3 years like the past one. I'm so excited about that. Hashtag life goals. But yeah, so let's just jump on in and I'll show you the fun things that I did in this sketchbook. Something else that I always feel the need to mention when I do a sketchbook tour video is the fact that I almost always have more than one sketchbook going. This one is the one that I consider to be my main sketchbook, which is a little bit more finished. However, it's still more playful than the work that I do with plans to sell. And then I have a plein air sketchbook. I've been bringing this out. None of this is masterpieces. This is just stuff that I do while I'm out and about with the girls. And I will do plein air stuff in my main sketchbook as well, and then I also have my messy sketchbook. And this is where the unfinished ideas lie. Doodles, preliminary sketches for larger pieces. That's what I come to this sketchbook for the most. Playing around with markers before I bring them into my main sketchbook. This one, I was laying out the composition for a piece that I did in my previous sketchbook. This was based on a dream that I had last year. This ugly as hell dragonfly. And I, in the middle of the page for no reason. Like, this is where I come to just kind of dump. Here, somebody had asked me what colors I would use out of Inktense to mix skin tones. And so I came in here to refresh my memory on what I usually do. Preliminary sketch for an Inktense piece that you've seen on the channel. Preliminary sketch for other pieces you've seen on the channel. And I come in, I draw like a thumbnail sketch. I draw it to scale so that I can scale it up to what I want the final piece to be. But yeah, it's pretty messy. It's just where I come to actually sketch. And so, and there'll be some mistakes. But I just want to mention this because I don't want people to see my more finished sketchbook and think that this is what you have to do for a sketchbook. We all come to our sketchbooks for different reasons. For me, it's usually to get some mixed media play, to do something quick and creative that I am not worried about having to sell, to play with materials that aren't light fast because, again, I'm not worried about selling it, or just to relax and have a good time. So let's jump into this sketchbook. I'm pretty proud of this one because it took me less than a year. And if you've been following me for a while, you know my past 2 sketchbooks took me like 3 years to do. Because it's just something that I do when I have spare time in between things. And lately, I haven't had a lot of time to do big pieces or to even film in general. You've probably noticed I haven't been on the channel as often because I've been working a lot. So I've actually been working in my sketchbook more because I can steal little pieces of time in between things and work in the sketchbook. Whereas when I'm working on a more highly finished piece, that takes a lot more time. And you did see me paint the front of this cover on the channel. I apologize for the glare. I do have a protective cover over it. So I'll pop up a picture here so you can see what that painting looks like. And I will link any of the related videos and materials in the description below. So this is my cover page. I have here the start date, which was 7/4 of 2025. And my finish date is 5/3 of 2026, which is when I'm currently filming this because I'm so excited that I finished it. And something that I always like to do is start with a cover page because it gets away from that scary blank first page feeling like you don't want to ruin your sketchbook. I just come in, do a fun little inspirational saying for myself, and decorate it however I see fit. Okay, so this sketchbook spread is based off of some plants that I bought my grandmother and my sister for Mother's Day. And I had taken the photos of them when I first bought them, and then I didn't draw them till way later on. This was done with some of the Jess Art acrylic markers and some of the Faber-Castell Pitt pens. I love combining acrylic markers with Pitt pens. Like, I love the flatness of the acrylic markers. Then I can come on top to create some shading and fun pizzazz with the Pitt pens. You're going to see that combination a lot in this sketchbook. The photos were taken in my kitchen, and so I have my little floral tablecloth there. And that was a lot of fun. Okay, so this one is one of my favorites of the whole thing. So this is from World Watercolor Month of 2025. Instead of painting every day, I decided I wanted to take all the prompts from each week that month and put them in one piece. So I painted once a week. I did a painting at the end of the week. And so for this first week, I had days 1 through 7, and I combined all the prompts to create this picture. So day number 1 was radiant. I have all this sunshine kind of shining through the garden here and around the trees. I have a little bit of faint sun rays coming through. Number 2 is espresso. Number 3 is ripple. So of course I had to put an ocean in. Number 4 was fade. So I did a faded umbrella and a faded tablecloth. Number 5 is lock. Day number 6 was hat. Day number 7 was melt, so I put a melted popsicle there, and I just think this is so fun, and I want to live there, and I didn't use references for this. This was completely out of imagination, and I just love how this came out. And I think that I used Holbein watercolors for this, and then I used like fine line Faber-Castell Pitt pens to do the outlining. So week number 2 got even more adventurous. Now, for this one, I did days 8 through 17 because World Watercolor Month has 31 days in it. So, therefore, I was not able to split it up by even 7-day weeks. So, this one I think had 9 days. And I kind of just looked ahead to see what prompts would work together for this week. And that's how I decided to go to day 17. And I had so much fun with this one. It is so cute. So day number 1 was tired. So our little character is taking a nap. Day number 9 was home. Day number 10 was turtle. Day number 11 was spicy. So we put some peppers on their little table there. And then day number 12 was rumble. So I had a thunderstorm going on outside. 13 was cavern. 14 was stretched. They're stretched out, napping. 15 was dusty, 16 was geode, and 17 was chair. I had so much fun. So the geodes are at the bottom there. I don't know if you could see that initially. Future editing Shanna here to add that initially when I drew this cave, I had planned on creating the whole thing to look like it was the inside of a geode. And I ended up going in a different direction. So then I put some crystals on the bottom to still kind of imply that. I don't think it came through. So those crystals are technically probably not geodes. They're just regular crystals. But that was my loose representation of that prompt. But look how fun and cute. So then the next week... And I feel like all of these could be in the same town. And I don't know if you've noticed yet, but I have been repeating this fun tablecloth pattern in each of these pieces. But I love that I feel like they could each be in the same town. Like maybe Mr. Turtle or Mrs. Turtle lives over here on this island and that's facing out, and over here is where that house is somewhere. And this is somewhere in that same town. So here is week number 3, days 18 through 24. 18 was rigid, 19 was perform, 20 was kitchen. Look at that tiny little kitchen. I had so much fun with that. 21 was street food. 22 was jacket. I just had a jacket hanging on a chair somewhere. 23 was group. And 24 was avocado. So I just put like a tiny little avocado there, and I think it's so cute. I had a ton of fun with this one too, and I want to go there. I just think it would be so much fun. And then again, I was keeping with that ocean theme. I decided, you know what, we're going to make it so that this is all right in the same place. And this is week number 4. We had day 25 was Howl, day 26 was Sea, day 27 was Drift, day 28 was Weave, day 29 was Submerge, day 30 was Ornate. I put some kind of little details up here in the fencing. And day 31 was Tower. So this one was a lot of fun as well. And I repeated that fun floral kind of motif here on the blanket that she's sitting on. So this one was just a quick little exercise that I did to try out the Watercolor Confections Tropical Palette. And it is a watercolor palette that I've had for years and I hadn't tried because when I first got it, it was really popular on YouTube. Everybody was using those little palettes. And I was going to do a video and I had it set aside and it didn't end up happening. Now they're not as popular. So I was tired of not using it. I took it out and I decided to play with it in the sketchbook. And I have to say, this sketchbook held up pretty well to water media, but it's really not my favorite for really flowy watercolors. And I do think these were quite flowy. It had some fun effects, but I like something with a little bit more control. I don't mind this paper with my Holbein. But I do think that this got away from me a little bit more than I would have liked. I like the effect. I had fun with it. I did a little landscape over here, wrote a little inspirational saying for myself. I do like to, you know, write some inspirational things for myself. This one says, please always remember the sun will rise again. Because I figured, you know, I'd be saying that would go with the adjacent painting. Yeah. So that was a fun one, but it's not my favorite spread. It's not my least favorite, but you know, and I'm not fantastic when it comes to calligraphy either, so it gives me a little bit of practice, but I also try not to be too picky about it because I would drive myself nuts. Okay, so this one is done with some acrylic markers, the Jess Art acrylic markers and Pitt pens, and it is based on a tree that's in my backyard. This is one of my most favorite trees. I have a maple tree out back that is the perfect climbing tree. It's the perfect tree house tree if we were to have a tree house. It has my tree swing. It is quintessential storybook tree. There should be elves in it baking cookies. It is humongous. It is beautiful. And I just wanted to honor it. This does not do it justice, but I wanted to honor it in some way. And I wrote a little thing about it because I do call it my storybook tree. And I like to swing and listen to music. And yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. And I had fun with this blue, but man, did I really go, I ran out of this blue because I use it on the next spread as well. Normally there's a tree, like I have a bunch of woods out back, but I wanted to isolate the tree, so I just did a blue background. And again, I was really feeling that blue, and you know me, I love a good strawberry aesthetic. This is another one that I just did from memory, so they're not perfect, but it was a lot of fun. And it feels kind of retro. Again, this was done with the acrylic markers and some Pitt pens for details and some gel pens. A lot of fun. I just had a great time with the pattern. And again, I love me some strawberries. So I really, really like this spread. Here, though, you can really see that that acrylic marker is running out. But again, in my sketchbook, I'm not as picky about getting these smooth backgrounds as I would be if I were creating like an actual acrylic painting or something. I would have been more picky about it, but I come here to play and have a good time, and this definitely served that purpose. This one is actually loosely inspired by a coffee mug that I bought from Rennie's, which is a Maine adventure. Rennie's is a fun store in Maine that you just never know what you're going to get, and they always have a lot of fun mugs. So I had gotten a fun oversized mug, and it's actually off-white and has some watercolor mushrooms. These mushrooms aren't based off those mushrooms. I kind of made my own up as I went along, but it's loosely inspired by that mug because I just thought it was a fun mug. And I did this with the Van Gogh watercolors. I have the muted tone set. I hadn't used that in a while, and one of my goals with this sketchbook was to grab some of my supplies that I either hadn't used yet or hadn't used in a long time and get some use out of them. And so that palette worked perfectly for this, especially with the color scheme. I wanted to go dark and whimsical with it, which obviously contrasted with my white mug. But I wanted to be kind of loose about it too, and all these different patterns on the mushrooms, and really let the watercolors do the work for me when it came to that. And I think I achieved that. It was a lot of fun. This is probably one of my favorites. Okay, now we are on to October. And for October, I did a combination of Stilltober and Inktober. And instead of doing larger pieces, because I had a little bit less time in October, I decided I was going to do a doodle a day, and I decided to use the Stilltober prompts. I was not a huge fan of the Inktober prompts for 2025, so I decided to use the Stilltober prompts, but also still use ink, and I used a different kind of ink each week. So again, I split it up by week, and for the first week, I used Faber-Castell Pitt Artist pens and some colorful fine liners that I had in my collection. Day 1 was tomato, day 2 was metal, day 3 was bakery, day 4 was drip, day 5 was texture, day 6 was bird, day 7 was chocolate, and day 8 was iridescent. My favorite has to be this one. He's the only one that I used a reference for. I didn't even use a reference for that, but I've drawn Mossy Rock so many times that I just was able to draw that from memory, and I'm really happy with how that came out. But for him, I did use a reference. This is my Rooster 1, and he definitely thinks he's number 1. He's such a cute little guy, though, and I love him. He's the smallest of the 3 roosters we have, but he rules the roost now. He's taken first place. And then I really like the tomato one. I had a lot of fun with them. They were interesting little prompts, and it was a great way to be creative, especially after work. I wanted to keep it quick and easy. I didn't want to get too crazy about it because, again, I just wanted to do doodles and create each day. And then for week number 2, I decided to use my acrylic markers, but this time I brought in some of the glitter pens by Ohuhu. So these are the Just R acrylic markers and then the glitter pens from Ohuhu, and I use those as my fine liners, and I don't know if this is even going to show you properly. The sparkle. Like, how fun is that? And I didn't really use any reference for these either. I just played around. I think my favorites are all the food ones. I really love the way the wrap came out. I love the slice of pizza and the matcha. I think it's super fun. I think they'd be cute as stickers. This is supposed to be gumballs. It looks more like balloons without the strings. But yeah, so day number 9 was heat, 10 was mushroom, 11 was matcha, 12 was old, so I did some birthday candles, 13 was wrap, 14 was smooth, 15 was slice, and 16 was leaves. So that was a lot of fun. And then week number 3, I decided to keep it nice and classic, and I went in with some ballpoint pen. We had day number 17 was triangle, 18 was frog, 19 was stack, 20 was yarn, 21 was crystal, 22 was stone fruit, 23 was thorn, and 24 was device. And I think with this one, the only one that I used a reference for was a frog. I used a reference that I had taken that I had on my phone. And frog and crystal, I think, are my favorites. I also really love my candy corn. I think it came out really cute. And then this was just based off my own phone. But yeah, just the classic ballpoint pen, always fun to sketch with. That was a great time. And then for the last week of October, I used some inexpensive pre-filled fountain pens. And you've seen me use them before in my other sketchbook. And for day 25, I did orange. Day 26 was glow. 27 was appetizer. 28 was toy. 29 was night. 30 was breakfast, and 31 was trick or treat. I think trick or treat is my favorite. I really love night. Breakfast was fun too. I think this is my favorite page. I really loved my deviled eggs as well. I had to bring my acrylic markers in to fix that up a little bit though, because after doing glow, my yellow was like running out. But overall, I had a great time, and it was fun because I still got the chance to play with different kinds of inks and get more experience with each of them, but it took a lot of the pressure off just by doing doodles. This one is a fun watercolor landscape that I did out of my imagination. Again, I just wanted to play around with watercolors that day. I don't remember what palette I used, but I did the initial painting on 11/3/25, but then I came in on 1/19/26 and added some sparkles just to the water and the sun. because my husband had gotten me some handmade sparkly watercolors for Christmas, and I thought it was just such a fun idea to bring them into the landscape and have some sparkly water. And I love the effect of that. So much fun. And again, this was just from imagination. I like to just come up with my own little worlds, and I really want to just play with sunset colors. And this one is my sketchbook spread to celebrate November. I find that November tends to be less inspirational for me than October. And so I have been making an effort with this sketchbook and my previous sketchbook. I've made an effort to do at least one spread that celebrates November, because I'm not big on the browns. And by November, especially here in Maine, the leaves are off the trees. Everything's brown. Everything's plain. And so, yeah, I like the bright reds and oranges and the almost fluorescent colors of October. Here, you're getting a lot of yellows and browns, but I wanted to have that kind of classic feeling, so I just brought in some brown fine liners and kept it to a very limited, muted fall color scheme, and just played around with different elements. I just doodled things, and I had a lot of fun. I love this little pine cone. I think it is so cute. And then some mums and the corn. I am pretty happy with how this came out. And I'm pretty proud of myself, because I have a really hard time leaving blank pages. Like, I have a really hard time with a white background. I just always have. I like it when other people do it. This was a challenge for me. Yeah, and you'll see that in future pieces as well, where it becomes a challenge for me. And then we jump right into Christmas time. So these ones were done with the acrylic markers and the glitter pens again, because I loved the combination when I did it for Inktober. So I decided it would be fun to do for some Christmas illustrations. So I have Santa Claus here and his whole pack of toys and everything. I actually did this back in November, and then in December I made a companion for him. I have this fun little snowman, and again, I love that flatness of those acrylic markers, and then using the sparkly pens for fine liners. I think it came out really cool. This one actually makes me think a lot of the decor that was in my house growing up, because my mom's favorite kind of character for that time of year is snowmen, and she had lamps, she had stuffed animals, she had all kinds of snowmen figurines, and they were all wearing cute little outfits like this, even though, I mean, how is a snowman gonna wear an outfit? I don't know, but you know what? He's cute. I love it. And in his world, he can wear an outfit without melting. So this is my swatch card for the Derwent Drawing 72 set. I came in and created some fun little shapes, some stars and hearts and flowers and leaves, and colored them in with each of my 72 Derwent Drawing pencils. I was so excited about this release, and it took me forever for them to come. Like, it took me forever to get them. It felt like an early Christmas gift for myself, even though I had bought them back in October. And then I came through and I outlined it with a kind of dark, bronzy, sparkly pen. I wrote down some notes for myself, and I talked about those notes in the video I did on these. So I will link that video in the description below. So this was just a fun exercise where I took some fine liners and a mechanical pencil and did some figure drawing. I used references from the Sketch Daily References website. It's a royalty-free website where you can sketch figures in different poses, and it's great practice. And I hadn't done it in a long time. I used to love drawing people all the time, and I did a lot of figure drawing when I was in college. And even before I was in school, I loved to do portraiture. I've gotten away from it in recent years because I've just been really inspired by nature. But I was really in the mood, so I decided to go to that site because I remembered that I used to use that a lot when I was in school for practice, and drew some of the figures that I thought were interesting, and I decided to kind of go with a rainbow color scheme and contrasting colors. And yeah, it was a lot of fun, and it really scratched the itch, and it was good practice. Okay, so this is done with acrylic markers and pit pens, and it is based off of our own farm fresh eggs. I've mentioned before that I have chickens. I'm sure if you've watched my channel, you've heard them in the background of my voiceovers. I wouldn't be surprised if you've heard them on this video today because they are very noisy. And we have like over 30 chickens, which means we get a lot of different eggs. And so I have taken numerous photos over the years of the eggs that are laying on the counter after we've washed them. And that's what this is inspired by. I decided, you know what? Let's just draw some eggs. Sometimes when I'm not sure what I want to paint in my sketchbook, but I'm in the mood to do something, I will choose a subject and come at it from different angles. And so that's why some are more zoomed in, some are more straight on. And I had a lot of fun with it. I think it came out really good. And it's a good way to honor what the chickens give us every day. So this one was supposed to start out as a loose watercolor floral. Well, Shanna's not cut out for loose watercolor florals. It just was not happening for me that day. And so I rescued it with a Pitt pen. And then I came in the background with these fun little abstract flower designs with a thin brush because, again, like I mentioned before, I can't stand a blank white background. I just have a really hard time in my own work for that. But I do love the way this came out. Let's spring, boing, 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 into spring. I was ready for it. This was done in February of 2026. I wanted spring. And I gotta tell you right now, we're in May and we still don't have leaves on our trees in our yard right now. So we didn't spring into spring. We are moseying very slowly into spring. But this gave me a little piece of spring when I couldn't have any outside my door, and it served its purpose for that. And it does make me happy to look at it. So this one is actually kind of funny. This was done with my acrylic markers. This is inspired by a tissue box. Jason and I had gotten sick. I don't know if we had COVID or the flu. We don't know what it was, but it knocked us out. It really knocked us out. And the tissue box that I had this fun monochromatic green leafy design on it. Similar to this, but it's not like I didn't copy it or anything. I just drew inspiration from that. And I was like, you know what? It'd be fun to do some monochromatic flat landscapes with my acrylic markers. And so that's what I did here. I chose all my reds and pinks for this one, my oranges and yellows, all my greens and all my blues. And just, varied the design slightly from one another. And it was a good time. And it was something to keep me occupied while I was feeling like crud. So this one was done in March, and it was a better representation of what spring was actually looking like at that point in time. I live in a town that has a lot of forests and fields, and so this is loosely inspired by my town. It was done from imagination. I didn't really have a reference. I knew that I wanted to have that yellowy kind of dead grass field with snow still lingering around and the gray skies and, all the browns and I think it came out really good. This is what I call the in-between place. We were in between winter and spring. We knew spring was coming. The snow was starting to melt away, but what was underneath was still, it doesn't scream life, right? It's kind of sad and melancholy, but at the same time beautiful. And I just wanted to capture that feeling of the in-between. And so that's what that piece is about. And then we're jumping right into color because Easter was around the corner and I like to, as you can tell, honor the holidays in my sketchbook. And again, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to pull out some pastel markers. I decided to repeat the colors in each of them and only use like a limited color palette, just the Eastery colors. I have a dish that's shaped like an egg that I have for candy for that time of year. And so I used that and traced it to make my little Easter eggs. And then I just decorated them and had a good time. This was my way of decorating eggs this year. And I like it. It was pretty mess free. Okay, so I like to follow prompts every once in a while in my sketchbook, and I have a fun game. You've seen me use it in previous sketchbooks. It's called Paint Chip Poetry, and I will link that in the description below as well. And basically, it's a bunch of different paint chips. It has words on the paint chips. You have a bunch of individual colors and individual prompts, and then they have other cards that have other inspiration on them. And so it's a really great game for all creatives. It's great for writers, it's great for artists, it's great for even actors if they want to have a jumping off point to do some improv and they just pull a color and, you know, the word that's on the card and go with that. This time I didn't actually use the prompts. A lot of times I will use the colors and the prompts. This time I decided to just go with the colors. And the colors that I had pulled out were Blackberry, Morning Glory, Peacock, Fig Leaf, and Margarita. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do a landscape. I'm going to challenge myself to use only those colors or as close to those colors as I can. They're not exact, but it was a lot of fun. And again, this was out of my imagination. I just made it up as I went along and placed the colors where I saw fit. I knew I wanted to use the darkest colors for my trees and foreground grass and my cooler colors in the background. And then, of course, that nice bright green for the foreground. And this felt very springy to me as well, especially this color here. It feels very much like when things finally do start to turn green in the springtime, and especially after like a rainy day and the sun finally starts to come out and everything just sort of glows. That's what this makes me think of, and it was a really good time. And then this one was, again, just another one that I did from memory. I was in the mood to play with branches. And honestly, I had actually just gotten done finishing my most recent acrylic painting, which is a sunrise coming through the trees in my backyard. And I had painted no less than 18,562 trillion branches in that piece. And apparently I wanted more. And so that's what this is. It's supposed to be the point of view of, you know, maybe laying in a grove of trees and looking up at the sky, or just standing there looking up at the sky. You can see some birds and then the surrounding trees. I did this with my Holbein granulating watercolors because I thought that it would just have a cool effect in the sky and everything. And I had a lot of fun with it. It's probably one of my favorite pieces. And it was pretty simple. Again, I didn't use a reference for it. I was just kind of doing muscle memory at that point because I had just done a pretty detailed acrylic piece using branches. And so, yeah, that was a good one. Okay, so this one is definitely one of my favorite spreads. I actually was inspired by Jess Karp. She had recently put out a video where she was painting people's pets on bags at a store. So people were buying these bags and getting pet portraits painted on them. She used acrylic markers, and she had done a bunch in her sketchbook ahead of time. And I'm like, oh my God, that looks like so much fun. I had been trying to figure out ways to incorporate my pets into this sketchbook because I incorporated them in my previous sketchbook. And when I saw her playing around with the acrylic markers, and I've been using acrylic markers like crazy, which, by the way, this paper is great for acrylic markers. I was like, oh, that looks fun and inspirational. So again, I did my acrylic marker Pitt pen combination. I think this page is mostly Pitt pen, honestly. I did Maisie first, and then I came back a few days later and did Leo and Luna. I think I did a base of white acrylic marker on Leo and then came in with my Pitt pens for the rest of the details. And then with Luna, she was mostly Pitt pens, and Maisie was mainly a base of acrylic markers, Pitt pens for details, and of course a lot of white gel pen because she is one fuzzy mama, that's for sure. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and this was, you know, an example of being inspired by another artist on YouTube. Jess Karp does fantastic work, and so I will link her video in the description below so you can see what I'm talking about if you haven't seen that video. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Okay, so this one is a really interesting kind of Mod Podge of things. We are in the process of updating our home, which is one reason why I have not been able to be on YouTube as often, between working pretty much full-time hours at my day job and then also trying to get things going in the house. So This is actually a tribute to our current home. These are patterns that are found around the house. So this is some of the paneling in our living room. This is actually the wallpaper pattern in my bathroom. This is based on the linoleum in the kitchen. And these are based on our throw rugs, which we will be getting rid of because we've had them for years. And there's only so many times you can wash them and beat them and vacuum them before they're no good anymore, especially since we have animals. So we're going to be getting new throw rugs soon too. So these will be going. But this is basically my way of keeping these patterns and documenting them since they will be gone soon, which is bittersweet. So this one is one that I did because I really, really love trees. I have painted this scene multiple times. In fact, this is from this same set of photos that I had taken. This is from the same place. This is a tree in the same area, in the same field. These are from reference photos that I took near my work. There's a path near my work that me and my friend like to take on lunch sometimes. It doesn't go too far away, and it's got some pretty scenes. Lots of tall grass and some fun spruce trees. And so I've actually done an 8x10 black and white acrylic painting that's more realistic of basically the same exact scene. But I wanted to document it in color, and this was mainly a way for me to practice with gouache doing landscapes because plein air season is coming and I'm trying to decide how I want to pack my bag this time, if I want to bring my gouache, if I don't. And this was a way to practice landscapes so that I can get used to it again before I get out there. Because I hadn't used gouache a lot lately, honestly. I'm not sure if I really did any other gouache in this sketchbook. And so it may have been since last year, plein air season, since I've used gouache. And so this was a fun way to practice with it, especially a landscape setting. This spread is out of order. This is the only spread that's out of order. This should have been way back here, and I'm annoyed. I don't know how it happened. I know my husband and I had sat down to watch Tremors because he was like, let's watch some old 80s movies. I don't even know. And I had opened up my sketchbook and I decided I want to play around with drawing some vegetables because I always draw like fruit and flowers, but veggies, they get left behind. I just wanted to play with my watercolors and I used my Micron pens. And I was very proud of myself that I was pretty good about leaving a fairly blank white background. I did have some shadowing and some splatters in some areas, but I was pretty good about it. It still bugs me. I still feel like I need to do more, but you know what? At the same time, this was just something relaxing to do while I was hanging out with my husband and watching TV. So it definitely served its purpose. It was fun practice. We're not here for masterpieces. And then here is my end page. I did this to match my cover page. And it says, "The magic will continue. Just keep going." And that's it. That's the end of this sketchbook. I am so excited that this took me a little less than a year to do. I can't even believe it. Now, granted, my last sketchbook was a beast. She was a 9x12, so it's not a surprise. And I think it had more pages in it than this one. So I'm not surprised that it took me as long as it did, but I'm really happy with this. And now that it's done, that means I can move on to my own handmade sketchbook. You saw me paint the cover for this recently, and again, I have a protective cover over it now, just like this one. But you saw me paint that cover, and I'm going to be working in it soon. This is not going to lay as flat as that one, but this was my first ever handmade sketchbook, so give me a break, okay? I'm figuring it out. I am pretty excited about this, so I will be working in that soon. But yeah, let me know what was your favorite sketchbook spread. I feel pretty accomplished. I'm really happy with it, and I do think this is a pretty good sketchbook. I like it best for acrylic markers, I think, and Pitt pens. You know, the Pitt pens work really well. A nice controlled watercolor works well also. Like, you know, watercolors do work in it. And it is fun to get designs with in watercolor, but I think the acrylic markers and Pitt pens shined really well in this sketchbook. So definitely think it's a pretty good sketchbook. I'm looking forward to trying out my own. Let me know what your favorites were from this video. I'm super excited about it, and yeah, there's good things to come. All right, folks, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what your favorite piece in this sketchbook was. I have a hard time deciding. I had so much fun with this sketchbook, and I'm really excited to jump into my new handmade sketchbook that I made myself with my own 2 little hands. I'm so stoked about it. So that will be the next one down the line. You already saw me do the cover for that one. I will link that in the description below if you want to see that video. I will see you next time. You have a fantastic day. Bye.